Hi, this is Jean again, and we, just as promised, are going to take on the research question. So, how do I come up with a question for my poster presentation? So, first, we have to understand the parts of a research question. And then, after we know them and understand them, we can then kind of understand how research questions are developed. Once we get there, we should be able to create one. So let's move on and see what we can do today. So the elements of a research question. Your question should be focused. So it should be narrowed down to something that you can actually answer, which is sometimes difficult for students. And we will cover that in just a few minutes. The question should be researchable, so I should be able to find literature that has to do with something about what I'm trying to ask, or I won't be able to do the next one, which is answer the question. If I can't answer the question, then here I am wasting my time, so that wouldn't be a good day. So the next one, the questions should be specific. So focused and specific kind of go together, and we'll cover that in a minute. It should be relevant, so I should be able to apply it to something that is happening now in the field that I'm looking at. And it should be something you're interested in, because why would we spend all this time trying to ask a question and then looking up primary data and literature and not be interested in it, because that would be a waste of time. So first, we want to cover focused and specific. So one problem or issue. It's not real helpful, is it? So we want to ask some questions about our question, which I know sounds redundant, but hold on with me just a minute. So my question needs to be something that I'm interested or surprised about what I'm looking at. There should be something I can focus on in that question. And I'm going to ask the questions where, how, who, or when to try to narrow this question down into something that I can actually answer. So, most often, it's usually a very broad question that we pick. And that's okay. You can pick a broad question. But then, say you have a topic in mind, you need to ask questions about that topic to kind of narrow it down to something that you can actually do research on. So, we're talking about obesity. So, obesity is a very big subject, as you can see. Obesity for who? Are we going to talk about kids? Are we going to talk about adults? Are we going to talk about teenagers? Who's being affected by obesity? Where are they being affected? Some countries, they don't have a problem with obesity. That is not the case for the US, but it is in other countries. So you need to figure out where you're going to narrow your research to. Is it, like I say, are you going to look at it going, are you increasing obesity? Is the prevalence or the number of people that are becoming obese increasing, or is it decreasing in whatever particular area for whatever particular person? So, and what are some of the things you think might be that cause? So, is it because we're lazy and we don't go out, or we don't cook dinner at home, so we want to just go through McDonald's? Is it because I live in a place that doesn't have a grocery store? Is it because everything at the grocery store is processed? Everybody is looking for a quick solution to the fact they're hungry, or what? What is actually causing it? Um, is there a specific health disease or state that it's related to? So, does obesity cause cancer? Or does it cause heart disease? Or maybe diabetes? Or mm, any other disease state you can come up with? Is there a relationship between those two in what you're looking at? And I highly suggest that you look at literature and read through it and just read some things to try to figure out exactly what you want to look at. So if you're interested in a specific subject, you can go and just look at studies in that specific subject and then narrow it down from there. And then there might be something that you see when you're reading that you didn't know. You know, I found out the other day that there is a link between inactivity and colon cancer. I didn't know that before. So, there's just things that you might find that you think, wow, that's kind of neat, and you want to go ahead and you want to have that for your question. So, your question has to be researchable. So, if I can't research it, then I can't answer it, and then I'm not in a place where I can actually do what I want to do. So, first, like I said, there has to be data, there has to be literature. You might be looking at population statistics. You might be looking at, for the most part, probably for a poster presentation, we're going to be doing a literary research review. And that's going to be studies. So you're going to have an actual study that you're going to look at. There's other, data and stuff out there. There's the U.S. Census. There's even health population data that's mapped out by public health officials. They put out every year. It may be something totally unrelated to medical. Unfortunately for you, I am a PharmD student and a public health student, so most of my examples are going to be medical. Do while you're doing, you're looking into your topic, do that preliminary research. Like I said, read stuff. I know that reading a study tonight before you go to bed may not be exactly the most exciting thing in the world, but if you look through some studies and you find something, just save it for later and go back to it. So while you're looking at that, though, you can use that literature and the data that you find to help narrow down that broad topic you had of, say, obesity to something that you can actually answer. So that brings us to, can it be answered? Well, we hope so, because why are we here? Anyway, the literature or data support it. So do I have literature? Is there stuff out there? Is it from credible sources? So yeah, probably Wikipedia isn't where you're going to look for the, benefits of vitamin D supplementation. You might want to look somewhere else, and we'll go over that. Do I have enough time to thoroughly answer it? This is kind of a big one, because so far, up till now, you've had papers, other things you've had to do for projects, and your teacher's like, I want this 16-page essay. And you're like, really? Why? And you're looking for words to fill in around the things that actually make sense in your paper to make it 16 pages long. I know, I've done it. This is going to be the exact opposite. You have one poster. So you don't have very much room. You need to be concise. You need to cut your word count down. You need to rephrase it so you use less words and less space. And that is a lot harder than filling in words, I think. But it may be easier for you. Hopefully it will be. can I formulate the answer in a way most people can understand? So if I'm asking a question and I have somebody in the group, like my Aunt May, and she wants to understand what I'm trying to talk about, can I actually explain it in a way she can understand or not? So make sure you can actually, break it down for people because not all of us are in the same field. So if you go off talking about, cardiovascular surgery and you start using words that no one knows what they mean, it's going to be kind of hard to apply your research to and have people understand it. Can I answer the question without subject or bias? So, do I think obesity causes health problems? Yes, I do. Can I look at a study and actually look at the data and subjectively say, without my influence, that it is a health problem or not? So, make sure that you can actually answer the question without letting your own bias affect your answer. Relevant. Well, does that question support further study? A lot of times in research, there's no one answer. So if it supports further study, which it probably does, because we probably only answered part of the question with that study, then you're in a good place because you want to look at those kind of questions. Those are the ones we're looking for, the holes and the gaps in, to try to figure out where and when we need to add new things or not. Maybe we're doing too much. Does my audience care about the problem or issue? So like I said, you're talking about cardio surgery and you're talking to a bunch of nurses and they don't work in the cardio department. Are they going to care? They might, but make sure that you kind of tailor it to your audience. Now, you're at a research symposium. There's a lot of people there with a lot of different interests, so that's not as big a deal. But when you are trying to do this for, say, a bunch of high school students that would like to learn how to do research for a research symposium, you probably don't want to talk about those things. Is the question timely? Is there timely data or literature? So, if you're trying to answer your question and all the data you can find is from 1994, you're going to have a problem, especially if you're trying to do medical research. It changes daily. Cancer guidelines currently are changing faster than I can keep up with them. So it better be probably within the last 10 years. If you can get the last 5 years, that's awesome. But you need to make sure that your studies are not so far out there that we're still putting, weird things in Coca-Cola. So, and probably no one understands that, but we used to do that. Anyway, who else could benefit from my research? Is there anyone else that can benefit? Probably. As long as you're not researching, putting a station in Pluto, maybe, you should be good. Most people have an interest in some area or another, and they can benefit from it. Can the average person benefit from it? Is probably where you kind of want to go with, though. And does there need to be more research done? Like I said, a lot of these studies only answer maybe part of the question. You'll read many studies that say, and further research needs to be done, even after they come to a conclusion. So, does research need to be done in this area? And if so, what is your hypothesis on that? Where do you think that research needs to go? Do I have a topic that I like? So, like I said, you're going to spend a lot of time doing research and looking at research before you even start writing anything. You probably should like what you're looking at. So try to pick something you really enjoy. And if you're going to do a poster presentation and you're actually going to put a poster up there and people are going to come ask you questions about that poster, it's better for them because they're going to know if you don't really care about what you just did your research on. So just pick something you like. Examples. So, does daily cell phone use affect high school education in the U.S.? So, daily cell phone use. Who? Oh, that's going to be teens because it is high school. Where? United States. So we've narrowed it down to something we can actually answer. I mean, if I just asked, does daily cell phone use affect education? I would have a really big question to answer. What impact does exercise have on the prevention of colon cancer? Like I said, there was that class that I had that there was actual research that inactivity was a contributor to colon cancer. So that was kind of neat for me. But here we have exercise and prevention of a specific disease state. I could have done even better and said in the US, and that would have narrowed it down at least to the United States. What effect does the government regulations on air, or what are the effects of government regulations on air pollution in Mexico? So, regulations, air pollution, Mexico. You've got it narrowed down to at least 3 things that bring it down so you can actually answer the question. A few other notes to answer to developing a research question. If your question can be answered by yes or no, it's not really a research question. It's whether I want fries with that or not. Avoid asking questions that state an opinion. So, and this kind of goes hand in hand with avoiding questions that ask why. If I ask why are people obese? Then I have an opinion. And when I have an opinion, it's no longer research. So here's the references of where the stuff that I found that you just looked at. And you can go ahead and you can look for yourself and find more things if you'd like. And we will talk again tomorrow or the next session about primary literature.